Tonight's topic is PTSD from being a soldier in the army of the Lord. In my career, I've come across many veterans, and I could sit here and try to create parallels. In some ways there are, and in some ways there just is not any parallel to the bravery and self-sacrifice that our veterans make for us each and every day. But in a nearly similar vein, there are many different kinds of soldiers, not just the ones who serve for the good and freedom for the United States of America, but there are also those soldiers who serve for the good of Jesus Christ. Soldiers in the army of the Lord. Some of us are enlistments. We see the light after a life lived in darkness and pain. And some of us are drafted, born into families in which soldiering is not an option. And in both cases, for those of us who have seen and engaged in spiritual warfare, who've seen spiritual bodies hit the ground and who have taken spiritual shots, lost spiritual limbs in the fight for the good, for the right, for the righteous, we suffer from PTSD. Many Christians spend most of their time in this spiritual warfare in the church, on the pew. This is a safe, controlled environment. You will only run into so many ills or evils in this very safe, controlled environment, which we can call the training ground, which we can call boot camp. Unfortunately, the vast majority of us Christians spend our entire enlistment, our entire Christ-based military career in boot camp. But for those few of us, a very select few of us, who recognize that yes, boot camp is comfortable, yes, all of my friends are here, and yes, this does provide me with a very secure sense of home, we see the bigger picture and we take on the task that has been delegated to us, that has been assigned to us by that greater power, and we go to the war front. Some of us never make it back. Survivor's remorse is a very real thing. There are many soldiers in Christ that I have fought with side by side throughout my draft years, who I've never seen or heard from again. Peoples whose voices still speak in my head, whose gentle faces and soft smiles still give me strength sometimes, decades after they have fallen by the wayside. And for those of us who have been lucky enough to survive, who have been lucky enough to come home to our churches, back to boot camp, and try to convey how it really is out there, not just how it says in the book, and even try to implement new ways in which to make our soldiers stronger and smarter. Often we are laughed at. Often we are ridiculed. Often we are pushed to the side because of the injuries we have suffered and because of the permanent scars on our minds and souls and hearts. Nobody really wants to listen to the battle-hardened soldier talk about how to truly be a soldier in the army of the Lord. No one wants to talk about the post-traumatic stress that they've suffered through constant engagement with spiritual warfare. Sometimes we get a medal and then we're told to sit in a corner because our ideas are just too outrageous. They're too out there. They're, I get that's in the Bible, but it's just not like that. Because the people running the boot camps have never seen war, have never truly experienced engagement with the enemy on the front lines. But they're the experts. And so after we've suffered trauma through spiritual warfare and come home to find rest, instead we find ridicule by people who can't even fathom the things that we've seen, the things that we've done, the things which we have overcome, all in the name of being a soldier in the army of the Lord. So I guess in brief, because this can be a multiple part series, I would like to give some advice to those of you who are ready to leave boot camp and truly be a soldier in the army of the Lord. I want you to know that you will go out there with many friends and in many cases return alone. I want you to know that all of the fairy tale promises they made you in boot camp don't often happen in the field. I want to let you know that you can love and pour love into this world, out towards your enemy. Turn that cheek 7 times 70 and still feel like you made no difference. I want you to know that sometimes in spiritual warfare, all you will see are losses, and you may never see your gains. When it comes to gains, you have to have faith. And what is that? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It's you having to trust that all of the sacrifices you made, that the limbs lost, in the ways in which engagement may have changed you, made you more grotesque than human in some people's eyes. You just have to know and believe that with all the loss you suffered, that with all the abuse you overcame, and that with all the love you gave and never felt returned, you must believe that it has made a difference. In Jesus' name.